I'm Will Reuter, and this is HBA After Hours, a podcast from the Home Builders Association of Greater Kansas City.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HBA After Hours. I'm your host, Jennifer Bertrand, here with my co-host,
Will Reuter with the Home Builders Association of Greater Kansas City.
Let's introduce our guest.
I think we should. And with us today is Lindsey Hicks, the president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Kansas City. Lindsey, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Lindsey, Habitat for Humanity of Kansas City, very well-known brand. But please tell us anything you'd like the audience to know about what it is that you do and how the organization is in Kansas City today.
Awesome. So Habitat KC, I've been with the organization for 12 years. So obviously I've experienced quite a bit of change and growth over the 12 years. We currently have about 4 or 5 core programs that we operate. First is our affordable homeownership program, which is where we build new construction homes and then sell them to individuals with a loan through Habitat for Humanity. It's a 0% interest loan. Second is our homeowner education program. We provide one-on-one HUD certified counseling for individuals and really provide a pathway to them for homeownership. So an individualized pathway either on the regular market or through Habitat's program. Then we have our home repair program, which we're partnering with more than 300 families with this year alone. And we have our restores, which are open to the public. It's where we sell new and used building material at a discounted rate, and it just creates affordability for folks to remodel their homes, and you can also find gems there.
I'm a big fan of Restore. I love it.
Yeah, Restore is definitely a Pinterester's dream, also a creative mind's dream, a designer's dream, as you would know. And it's just a great way for us to create revenue that's unrestricted that can go directly towards our programming.
And it's upcycling. It's good for the world. One person's trash is another person's treasure, so I love the whole concept.
It definitely is, yep.
Yeah. Well, let's dig in. We want to talk about what you guys do, but Will, you were talking about what was important for people to understand about the HBA and what Habitat KC does. So go ahead and dig in.
Yeah, so the HBA of Greater Kansas City and Habitat KC recently had a really cool opportunity to partner together on the Artisan Home Tour in 2024. And that entire effort was just to illuminate the complexity of the housing market and to create an additional funding stream for what Habitat does out in the market every single day. And so, you know, what we would want the public to know is that there isn't just one house that is going to solve a housing problem, one product out there. And there's also not one entity that's going to be able to provide everything for everyone. So those areas where we can come together and see where our missions align was a really rewarding thing that we were able to go through over the course of the last couple years producing this 2024 Artisan Home Tour that just concluded in August.
What are common misconceptions or questions that you guys get as an organization?
I think the most popular one is that we give away homes. And the reality is that we're not giving away these homes. We're partnering with families to become homeowners. They purchase a home just like anybody else. It just happens to be that Habitat is the loan originator. We're the lender. We also service the loan for the life of the loan. So we have a relationship with these homeowners for 25 to 30 years. And so if we do see that any of our folks are falling behind, we bring them in. We have our counselors work one-on-one with them so we can get them back to a place where they're stabilized in home ownership. I say all that, there are very few homeowners that we do have to bring in. Most of our homeowners are incredibly successful, and this is really a trajectory-changing moment for them. This is just the start of what can be a new future for them, and we see so many of our homeowners that have gone on and either sold their homes and it's just a stepping stone to a brighter future, or they love their home and they stay in their home and they continue to just build their careers and to watch their children thrive as well.
Well, not everyone has a support system to get that kind of care and attention and head start and advice on it. So it sounds like you guys really care and go above and beyond on that.
Yeah, and all of our partner homeowners are required to do 100 plus hours of homeowner education and homeowner preparedness courses. And so
I think everyone should do that.
Right.
I realize I'm probably
people that have owned their
lacking.
houses for 10 years should have a refresher course.
Absolutely. And we work with them on monthly maintenance. What are the things that you need to do to maintain your home?
Okay, one of my questions is, you're really good about answering what are the common misconceptions or questions they have. And one thing I ask, because you guys are the experienced market people and house building, but do you ever get pushback in where to build or negative concepts on building your type of houses?
I can definitely speak to this one. This past year, we partnered with a church. A church had some land over in Olathe at 159th and Black Bob. And they wanted to sell us the land, pennies for what it was worth, because they really believed that folks who work in Johnson County should be able to live in Johnson County, and that attainable housing is a priority for our community there. And so we embarked on a single-family home pocket neighborhood over in Olathe. And that was the first time that something like this had really been brought to Johnson County. On top of that, these homes were in a land trust, which was a concept that a lot of folks were not familiar with.
Tell people what a land trust is.
Yeah, so a land trust is basically where the homeowner owns the home, but they do not own the land. They do a 99-year ground lease on the land. And what that does is it allows us to keep it affordable for the sales price, but also, too, it allows us to keep it affordable into perpetuity. Because in that ground lease, we have restrictions on who it can be sold to. So it has to be sold to a family at 80% of the area median income or under. And it also caps the sales price. So they will get 100% of their mortgage. They'll get 100% of their equity, but it caps the market appreciation at 25%.
So it keeps it affordable.
So it keeps it affordable forever. And that concept was very difficult for folks to understand. Also, there is a bias around affordable housing. There is a perception of what folks think affordable housing is. And so us coming with that project, we faced quite a bit of what we would call NIMBYism, which is not in my backyard. And
I got you.
Yeah,
So everyone wants to help, but do they really want to help?
It was quite the process. So we did a lot of community engagement, listening sessions, answered questions for folks to try to help them to better understand what it is that we were trying to bring to Johnson County. And they're amazing homes. These are amazing home buyers. All of our families are hardworking individuals who simply are priced out of the market. 1 in 10 individuals is spending more than 50% of their monthly income on housing in Kansas City. When you're doing that, you can't afford to make choices such as, am I going to pay for my medicine?
Or childcare.
Or childcare. Or you're just put in a really difficult situation, and it's very tricky to become a
sell
homeowner.
a child. Just kidding. Not appropriate joke. Not appropriate.
No, Jen, NIMBYism is the most powerful political force in housing politics today, and it is nonpartisan. It does not have anything to do with your political affiliation, how you vote, how you see the world. It is just a community veto over the production of new housing, and it's migrating from just not in my backyard to not in your backyard either. And it is really having a damaging effect on the ability to add inventory in the places that need it the most. Diversity of housing product equals diversity of housing price, and it's how we stabilize our communities in the long run. Home ownership is one of the greatest stabilizing factors in society today, not only writ large, but also the stabilizing factor for your microeconomy, which is your family or your household. And so the more times that we can, go through these efforts and get to yes more quickly and educate the public while we're doing so is an opportunity to expand what can actually be brought to market. Because at the end of the day, the families that Lindsey communicates with Habitat, the would-be home buyers that are coming to the parade of homes or all of those things, they don't really care how it gets produced so long as there is a roof to put over the heads of their families. So we do the dirty work to try to make that happen. But it's an education effort on behalf of our respective organizations to broadcast to the public that, hey, all of these homes help all of us.
Yeah. So if someone is listening to this and they go, okay, how do I educate myself on it to be more, thoughtful to the concept? Where do they go and get information? That was a good question.
It was a good question.
As far as
just understanding, if they're saying not in my backyard, they're thinking that possibly it's going to drive down price value of their home, correct?
Right.
Is that let's just be straight up.
Yep.
So then if they're worried about it, who do they go talk to? Who do they do? Do they reach out to the HBA? Do they talk to Habitat KC? Are there organizations or websites?
For us, we did a whole entire FAQ page on our website specifically around that project. And there's a lot of information based on the questions that we collected from the community members when we were doing those listening and engagement sessions. So I'm I'm pretty sure your question to be answered would be on there. Also, our key partner in this is the Kansas City Community Land Trust. They are the ones who are going to be holding the land trust for us and holding the land. And they have a really great website, too, that helps define how do these land trusts work and how does it ensure that it does not appraise against other folks that are or other homes and there are other homes that are not in the land trust. So those are two key resources. Come to us. My email is open all day, every day. And then also the land trust as far as that model goes.
And I can tell you where you shouldn't go to get your information, and that's probably social media or on Nextdoor or something
That
like
is the
that.
rule for
where
life,
it just feeds on itself, and then by the end you're mad and you don't even remember what you were mad about. It's not a source of information, it's a source of conjecture. And so as you are doing your due diligence as a voting member of the public, as a taxpayer, out of a participant in society, to seek out those trusted partners who are just trying to call balls and strikes, saying, hey, 2 + 2 = 4, and here's how this works in your life. Everyone has a place to sleep at night, or that's our overarching goal as human beings, as people. And when you have that dynamic, when a housing conversation comes up, you bring all of your baggage, all of your bias with you. You're a housing expert because you have a house. Well, the market has changed. The dynamics of the world have been modified around you. And what may have been true 10, 20, 30 years ago is no longer true today and will not be true in 10, 20, 30 years in the future. So what steps are we taking today to make sure that we've got housing opportunities tomorrow? And that's what really our uphill climb is as a group of people that are promoting home ownership and adding housing supply of every stripe. So that's really, I think, the genesis of our conversation, and our purpose is to make sure that we are taking positive steps every day, because we don't have the housing market we have today based on one policy that was decided last week. It's an aggregation of all of the policy decisions that have been made over the last, several decades. So we're not going to fix it overnight, but we can make it better, and we should start doing that today.
No, I think everyone deserves a house. And I think just because you don't maybe possibly make as much income, no reason why you're not an awesome human as well, just working hard in what you do. I think one of the questions people would probably ask, like about the Habitat KC, like if it were a neighborhood, is are there certain things done so to help people maintain the homes and stuff like that? What do you guys do with that concept?
Yeah, so we have we have a couple of different programs when we partner with our families, but first and foremost is that education component up front. Doing those homeowner education sessions where we work with these families to do the homeowner preparedness, the home buyer workshops, all of that. That really
is awesome.
It prepares them for what it is, what home ownership is. And so we do that up front. And then on the other side of things, once they've been in their home for quite some time and maybe they need to do a gutter replacement or things along those lines, if they still are in a pretty tight income restricted environment, then we do have a home repair program, and we'll partner with them to make sure that those repairs are done in a way that is affordable for them. Because we recognize that some of our families, they come to us because they're on such a tight fixed income, and they love their career, they love their job, they love they just want a safe place to call home to go with it. And so we really do. We partner with them from the second that they own their home until however long they need us. We're there to partner with them to ensure that they have a safe, decent place to call home.
And it's ironic that a lot of people who might be complaining about it have never taken one of those education courses or are uneducated in their own mindset. So what you're doing is so amazing. I love that. Are there any other misconceptions or things that you guys find that you love educating consumers about what you guys do?
Yeah, I think some of the other misconceptions would be that we're building all these tiny homes everywhere, and that, when it first was announced that we were doing this pocket neighborhood in Olathe, there was this assumption that we were getting all of these variances and that they were going to allow us to do all of these things that didn't align with what code was and whatnot. And that's not the reality. I mean, we're building 1,700 to 2,600 square foot homes. These are 3 to 5 bedroom homes. And
those
they
are nice houses.
They're nice houses. They're Energy Star rated. I mean, when they went through all the energy changes, we were already building to that code for the most part. So these are high quality homes that our team on our construction team partners with, volunteers with to build, and they're great. They're a great place for these families to raise their kiddos.
You're setting standards, which are so important. So, if anything, we should all be modeling after what you guys are setting as standards.
I think that there's a need for tiny homes. I think that there's a need for all different types of housing. I think that there are different housing needs for different families based on their circumstances and where they're at. The most important thing is that we have quality partners who are aligned with everyone has a safe place to call home.
Yeah.
Everyone does. And so some partners can take the tiny homes. Some partners can take, the multifamily, whatever it might be. But when we have this mixed income, mixed use, mixed approach to housing, and we're building more units proactively, we can start to chip away at that gap.
You go, Will.
No, I was going to say, I think I'm going to project some misconceptions on you because this is what I've heard about what Habitat, how they operate in the market, is that you're still, as you're a home builder that is still beholden to all of the construction and development standards of everyone else. It's not like, okay, you've got this set of rules for Habitat and this set of rules for everyone else. And one's
not
more
nice
lax than
to
the
you.
other.
Yeah.
No, this is all about putting up the safest, most durable home that the city or the county or whatever jurisdiction you're operating in requires as a baseline within the community. There's not special treatment.
There is not special treatment. We are just like any
Nice
other
if there
builder.
was, but there's not.
We're just like any other builder, and the reality is that we're building all over the metro. So we're building in Jackson, Wyandotte, now Johnson. And so, we have to learn within each county and within each city, what are the things and what are the requirements that we're going to be held accountable to? Because at the end of the day, we want a good quality product for our families. So, that definitely is one that Habitat, we have this special permitting process that nobody else gets access to, and that's not the case. We go through the same permitting and the same zoning and all the things that any other developer would go through.
Well, so I would guess that a common thing that you probably hear is people worry about safety or security, if things are going to change in their neighborhood, should they have a neighborhood like this pop up. Do you hear stuff like that?
Yes.
She made a big face. Say yes.
Yeah, so especially during the community engagement piece with the Olathe Pathways neighborhood, there was a lot of folks that were saying that, we're going to have crime and we're going to have, all these things are going to be brought here because of this 14 single-family home pocket neighborhood, and that certainly is not the case. It's actually the opposite. We're making significant investments in these communities, and we're building in places where there hasn't been a new home in over 28 years in some of the neighborhoods that we're developing in. So
change is hard sometimes for people, so it's always the like, hey, we hear you, but hear us too.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to do too, is we wanted to listen to the community and to listen to their concerns and to really talk through our model and to invite them to be a part of building this neighborhood once we have our infrastructure in. That's one of the great things, is that we do build bridges by building together with volunteers and building with community members. And so what started off a little rocky, now we have so much support for. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, I thought it was going to be this, and then once I actually learned about it, I don't even know what I was so worried about, So it is nice to see the community rally around the need for affordable and attainable housing.
Consumers, voters, however you're approaching the conversation, we're very visual. Like, we don't really truly understand something until we can see it or experience it. And that's so true of the entire housing dynamic too. When you just look at renderings and you bring all of, the context that you want to have when you're looking at those renderings, you can project things onto that it's going to be populated by this population. It's going to, have this effect on my own housing experience. But it's when you get the project moving forward and you see it for what it is, and you get to see the positive impact that it has. And it will have an impact. What change by definition is different than what it once was. But when you get to see what that looks like, this concept, that it does have a moderating effect on what someone's perhaps misperceptions were going into it.
Are there any beautiful or lovely kind of generic stories you can tell without, sharing confidential stuff, but that you're like, this is what I love about my job?
Oh my gosh, I have so many stories.
Give us one, girl.
I have so many. So I think one of my favorites is actually a homeowner who's going to be featured in our end of the year campaign. But she was one of the very first homeowners when I started at Habitat over 12 years ago. She was one of the very first homeowners that I had the opportunity to work with. She was going through the program. She had 2 little boys, and she just was so kind and but said she was like, I really hope to build confidence through this program as well. She had grown up in and out of the foster care system, and she had not gone to school yet, and said she really wanted to. She was hoping that this home would provide her with the opportunity to go to school so that she could work with kiddos who were in and out of the system as well. So she goes through the program, gets her degree, then goes through, then writes me an email and says, would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation for me? I'm going to do my master's program in social work. So then she went on to do that. And then the other thing was when we walked their house when they moved in, her 2 kids, she was like, that's where I'm going to put their basketball hoop goal. Like, that's where we're going to put it because they love shooting hoops. Well, now both of her boys are like 2 of the most highly recruited basketball players in Missouri. So it's just so many layers of unlocking opportunity for that family. And
All she needed was someone to get her started.
and honestly, like, I think that one of the biggest things is that we're lucky that they trust us and that they are willing to partner with us, and we get to be a small part of their journey. And families like hers, I can think of like 20, I mean, a lot of families. But she's just one that really always resonates with my heart. She was one of the first ones, and then seeing how she's doing now is really special.
Good job, you good humans. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, because the economic barriers are evident, but it's also the societal and the psychological barriers to creating a home ownership journey. And so you're kind of addressing that entire ecosystem within one person, of just breaking it down and making a home ownership opportunity possible.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is whenever we go to our home dedications, and we have families who we partner with who they've been living in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and there's 5 or 6 people in their family. Just the little things like having their kids hold my hand and be like, do you want to see my room? It's just little things like that make you realize that affordable housing is a great thing.
Yeah.
And it is families who we are just so incredibly lucky that we get to be a part of that.
Before we dig into how people can help, is there anything else you'd want to make sure you got across or share that you just are like, often people think this and we're this?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about home ownership, which is incredibly important, but sometimes we forget about folks who have been in their home for quite some time and who simply can't afford to do those home repairs that are needed. We had a veteran who was strategically placing Home Depot buckets around his house because his roof was in bad shape and the rain was coming in. And that was just how he had been living for over a year, for quite some time. And we came in, we did a new roof replacement for him and addressed a couple of other things. But we partner with more than 300 families, we do more than 300 projects, home repair projects per year, because folks they have a great job, but they're on such a tight fixed income that they can't afford to do a new roof, or they can't afford to do gutter replacements or things like that. And so these are individuals who are incredible contributors and who we appreciate so much. And so so having the opportunity to do those minor and critical home repairs for existing homeowners too, to help stabilize the market, that's incredibly important work. As much as we want to keep adding and adding and adding, we also have to stabilize those and help those who want to safely stay in their home.
No, and I think it's a slippery slope, like when one thing starts to go bad with the house, and then the mental health journey that comes with it as you're watching your house fall apart and you can't love on it.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of folks too who simply want to age in their home, but they need grab bars, or they need different things that are needed. So we partner with those families as well, and some of those stories are so powerful too, just so that they can safely go to bed at night and not worry about the furnace that they haven't had for 2 years or the roof leaking for a year, whatever it might be.
I think a lot of people probably think you guys are just new houses from the ground up and stuff like that and don't realize those programs as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And affordability, this is the Home Builders Association podcast, obviously. And so new construction is going to, it's going to lean heavily towards that. But, a home isn't like a pair of shoes where once it just gets worn out, you just, discard it and go get a new one. We have to keep our existing housing stock to a level of service and safety if we're ever going to hope to house a growing population. In Kansas City is a metro that's got so much good stuff going for it. There's lots of people coming to the metro to make their fortunes
Kansas City's
here.
cool now.
That's right. We've got running water and everything now. So it's an amazing place to be. And so when we've got those opportunities to offer, we've got to be able to provide housing that hits every element of the socioeconomic spectrum. And that existing housing stock is too important to just say, well, it was built 40 years ago. It is what it is. And we'll just let it cycle out and we'll just build something else. So we've got to be intentional about taking care of what we've got as well.
Absolutely. And I think that when we do those repairs, the Department of the Family is also protecting that asset. We found is that a lot of folks willed a house and they had no idea, or they don't have an active will for their house, whatever it might be. So we provide those wraparound services to ensure that they're protected into the future as well.
You think of everything. I love that. Any other programs you'd want to highlight or share what you guys do?
Just our restores. I know I mentioned it briefly
yes,
earlier.
Let's talk about that because I love it. And one thing I've learned is are certain items are more appreciated if they're donated or if you're breaking down a kitchen. Are there any things that you would highlight, like, hey, homeowners, if you want to be a part of it, go to this website, or here are things to keep in mind?
Yeah, so for our restores, a couple of things. One, you can donate at any of our restores in the metro. We have a list of things that we accept on our website. But two, we actually have a deconstruction team that if you are remodeling your house, they will come dismantle all your cabinets, all your appliances, whatever it might be. They'll come dismantle all of that. You get a tax receipt for making that donation, and then we'll haul it off instead of it going into the landfill or whatever it might be. And those are the types of products that we get really excited about when we get to go do a whole house decon. That's really exciting for us because we're keeping it out of the landfill. We're making a profit on it that can then in turn help our families and help serve more families in the community. So
I need to make sure all my contractors know about that because that is true. Is it a fee charge to come do the work to break it down? Is that how it works?
It is not, but we do ask if folks are willing to make a donation. It's helpful for us because we do have to pay our crew. We have the trucks, and we do have some fees for some of the waste that we have.
And demo from a team on a remodel is going to cost anyway. So why not upcycle and have it be a part of something great?
Yeah, you want to rent a dumpster and have every mattress in the neighborhood find its way in there. Why don't you just have Restore come and take all of the good stuff out and repurpose it and do some good with it?
Yeah, I've got a kitchen coming up. I think that'll be great. I'll tell my contractor. Okay, so other things that people can do to help if they want to support what Habitat KC is doing.
Yeah, so the two, obviously the two most important ways that folks can participate with us is one, to volunteer. As we're continuing to grow and expand and the number of units that we're building is expanding, the need for volunteers is too. So volunteering is definitely incredibly important for our organization. And then second is donate. We are, as I mentioned, increasing how many houses we're building, doing a lot of infrastructure projects, and increasing the home repair program projects that we're completing. And so donations are critical for us, and funding is critical for us and for our growth as an organization. So if you're interested in either or both, just go to habitatkc.org and you'll see volunteer and you'll see donate.
I always think that's a great gift because in a world where everyone has everything they truly need and now it's just absurd, I always think if you need a hostess gift or a holiday gift or a birthday, why not donate to something like Habitat KC in honor of them? And that's a beautiful way to help someone and give a good gift.
I love that.
I know,
We're going
right?
to use that. That's wonderful.
Yes.
And there are probably some good housewarming gifts at Restore too, as
There
well.
definitely
A
are.
lot of unique
I love
things. Yep.
upcycling. My sister lives in Iowa, and I remember she was like, "Okay, I got 5 gallons of paint at Restore, and this is the color." And I love that whole like MacGyver of what you find and how you turn it into something.
There are so many incredible historic houses in Kansas City that we have gone in and deconstructed, which kind of pains me. But and so the way that folks can take those objects and repurpose them into our home, it's inspiring. I mean, we've had people make entire greenhouses out of windows and
I've seen
doors.
that on
and just-
TikTok.
it's incredible. So yeah.
See? You can learn anything from TikTok, is what I've learned in life.
Whether you want it or not, you're
Yes,
gonna learn it
yes.
on TikTok.
I've learned
right?
a lot of recipes I'm never going to do as well. My question is, if someone wants to volunteer, is there an age limit as well for that?
Oh yeah, great question. So it's 14 to volunteer in our restorers.
Yay, my child can do it.
Woohoo!
Yay.
And then 16 to volunteer on our construction sites.
Perfect. No, that's great. I always think it's just good human moments. And I think anytime as a family you can do stuff like that. I know, before people have done other kind of family group things, but what a beautiful thing to do and help you guys out.
Oh, my favorite days are the days when I get to be on the construction site. It is so much fun. And you bond with the folks that you're volunteering with in a way that you wouldn't in other, team building experiences. So
Yeah, and it teaches you to be nice with a bedside manner, because if somebody's got a nail gun and you guys aren't seeing eye to eye, you got to
Yes.
keep your head on a swivel. So it teaches you how to interact with your fellow man, perhaps.
And are there chunks of time? So if someone is listening and they're like, okay, I'm a good human, I'd like to help. And obviously they can go to the website. But is it you volunteer for a whole day, half a day, just kind of high level? What is it?
yeah, it's a full day on the construction site, and then we can do smaller half days and even 2-hour shifts at our restore locations. The construction site, we have to do full days because we have things that we have to get done in those days in order to keep up with the construction schedule.
Yep.
But
Yes.
I promise you, if you make time to do it, you will have a great time.
And
on site.
corporate team building, it's great for offices. You want something fun for your staff to do and bond, way better than a trust fall.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And you're not just doing it for the gram either. You're going to work. There's
Oh,
going to
you
be
are
some
gonna work.
productivity. That's that sense of accomplishment that you get in doing whether it's home repair or home building or whatever, is a truly rewarding experience. And I think more people would have a better appreciation for what it takes to make a unit of housing happen if they spend a little time, a 6 or an 8 hour shift on a job site to say, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought.
Oh yeah, I have framed a house. I have put trusses on a house. I have painted. I've done all the things, and that is so true. And but also at the end of the day, rewarding, and it's a great workout too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so normally we ask people, we kind of end the show with something, crazy weird story. But if you don't want to do a crazy weird story from one of your adventures, give us one more warm fuzzy to close it out, because your warm fuzzies are good too.
Yeah, I think obviously we've had a lot of crazy weird things. The things that we found between walls, or just the, there's been a lot of that. But I think that the warm and fuzzy is by far more my alley. It's very much a part of my everyday work. There's so many families, especially over on this one street that we just did over in the Wendell Phillips neighborhood. But we have one homeowner, and he's awesome. So he utilizes a wheelchair, and he was having a really hard time finding accessible housing in Kansas City. That is also a huge gap, is homes that are completely accessible. And so we partnered with him and a couple other organizations to truly understand what his needs were and what we needed to modify our home plans to meet him with where his needs were and where he was at. And man, he sent us an email a few months back and was just saying how this has totally changed his life. He now has counters that are at the height that he can bake, and he can study, and he can do all the things that he has really not been able to do. There are obstacles to homeownership for a lot of families that we partner with. And the fact that we can create individualized needs and individualized pathways, it just makes all the difference. And so I just can't be more proud of him and the things that he's accomplished post-homeownership.
Yeah, and the simple joys of he just wanted to reach his counters, like the things we take for granted.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the homeowners on that street. They've become like a family. There's so many other stories I could tell about the other homeowners there. But just seeing them come together too to support each other, and it's beyond the house. It's the community that they have now. It's we're incredibly lucky that this is the work that we get to do.
Will you say your website one more time for everyone?
Yeah, habitatkc.org.
Perfect. Will, did we forget anything we want to go on?
I think we've pretty much hit it. And I think that, what we want our takeaways for our listeners to be, again, is that this is very complex, and we shouldn't let necessarily the fear of not being able to solve all the problems prevent us from solving some of the problems. And
Ooh, that was a good soundbite.
And so, what Lindsey just described with her homeowner is that it might not have changed the world, but it changed his. And that should be the sufficient goal that we all have, is just to change all of these individual opportunities, and then the aggregate take a step back and say, look, we made a tremendous difference in the lives of these people, and therefore our community is enriched because of it.
I always say that chicken soup for the soul story where they're like, the guy's throwing the starfish back into the ocean, and they're like, why are you doing it? You're never going to save it all. And he's like, but it mattered to this one, and throws it in. Yep. So thank you for what you guys do. We really appreciate it. And thank you for coming on our podcast and educating everyone and being a good human.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of fun, and we appreciate the HBA support they've showed us. The Artisan Tour, the proceeds from that are going to be a game changer for our organization this year, and so we couldn't be more grateful for that.
Yeah, you guys raised a lot, right?
It was a getting to present those types of contributions are always rewarding. And then when you get an opportunity to invest those kinds of resources in an entity that is going to deploy it directly into the market to put it back to work, and that's housing related, it's icing on a very special cake.
No, it's awesome. Well, thank you to both of you then. We'll close us out on our podcast.
I will close us out. Thank you again for joining Jen and myself on today's podcast. Again, we had Lindsey Hicks with Habitat KC. If you would like to have a suggestion or have another question answered on a future episode of the podcast, please visit kchba.org/podcast. Leave us your questions and your recommendations, and we'd be happy to get to it on a future episode. So with that, I think we're going to call it a day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.